So a lot of people have been asking why their slim profile wrenches have a tendency to round off bolts and nuts, and some people have been asking if maybe there is a manufacturer's defect, that the opening was actually a little bit too large. But let me show you what's going on here. So some people have noticed that there's some wiggle with the wrenches, and we're expressing a concern that perhaps that gap is too large. However, if you grab just a regular old non-slim profile wrench and you put it on, you'll realize that it actually has the same amount of wiggle. And if you measure these two openings with the caliper, you will notice that the openings are actually exactly to spec. So what's going on here? Even though there's the same amount of wiggle with a normal wrench and the slim profile wrench, what's happening here is the slim profile wrench, if you look at it, it is very slim, so it's not grabbing the full bolt. If you look at how thin it is compared to a normal wrench, you can see that it's about half of the thickness. It's very small. So this is grabbing, sorry, not the bolt, but the nut here. It's not grabbing all of the metal that it could. So what's happening is, as we tighten this, if we put on too much torque, we're going to get a tendency to round off. Come on. There we go. Now it's happening. See, it's starting to round off the nut here. And that is because there is actually not that much contact with the slim profile of the wrench on the nut, and so that small contact area is under too much load, too much torque, causing it to round off. So you don't want to use these in situations where you want to put a large amount of torque. If we go and put this wrench on, we'll see that it's of course grabbing the full, actually, yeah, this wrench is wider than the nut itself, so it's grabbing the full amount of the nut that it can. So if we add some more torque to that, we can continue to turn it by another maybe third of a turn here before it starts to round off as well. And there it goes. So you can certainly get more torque on a nutter bolt with a traditional wrench. The slim profiles will help you get into tighter spots. So now we've tightened this one to the maximum tightness that we can with the regular thicker wrench. If we try to loosen this with the slim profile, we should still be able to loosen it. Yeah, no problem. So I don't suspect you're going to have a whole lot of problems getting nuts and bolts out with the slim profile wrench, unless perhaps the nut is seized or rusted on there, in which case perhaps one of our extractor wrenches would be better suited for that purpose. But when you're putting on fasteners with the slim profile, do be cautious that you're not putting too much torque, just because the jaws are so thin on these. And then once you do get it on there, you may want to see if you could get another tool on there, perhaps a socket or something else, to get it to torque. But that's why people tend to have the issue with the fasteners rounding off while using the slim profile wrenches. These are to spec. They do meet the ISO specifications for the opening, and if you compare the opening of these with any other wrenches, you should see that the measurement should be exactly the same, probably within a tenth of a millimeter. But yeah, be careful when you're putting a lot of torque on a fastener, because since it is so slim, it's only grabbing about half of the amount of metal on the fastener and has a higher chance of rounding it off.